When Parliament now decides in Section 11 of the Public Finance Management Act to say that it is going to use the Public Finance Management Act to set up the treasury, and in Section 11 it says that the treasury is the Minister for Finance, the PS for Finance and departments, you ask yourself, what is happening? One, making the treasury a ministry of the national government when the framers of the constitution decided the treasury as an independent institution to be able to oversight, to be able to serve the 48 governments, the 47 county and the national government. It was never intended that the national government should control the public money. But now that's the treasury, a department or a ministry in the national government. What's the effect of that on Parliament itself? The effect of that on Parliament itself is that the Parliament loses its power of the purse. Parliament is supposed to control the public purse, the public money. The three powers that are shared, you hear people talking about separation of powers. The three powers that are shared are: one, the power of the scales, the adjudication power, which is the judiciary. Two, the power of the sword, the executive power, which is in the executive. Three is the power, control over public money, the power of the purse, should be in Parliament. But because of Section 11 of the Public Finance Management Act, that power has been given to the president. So end up with an imperial president. Our president is an emperor. Our president is not a public servant. By practice, by law he's supposed to be, but by practice he's not. Because he already has the money and he has the sword. He's an emperor. And that's why you see that nowadays, to show that the parliamentary MPs are powerless, if the president pops up anywhere in this country, you'll find the local members of parliament, especially the National Assembly, will pop up and begin making a mini budget with the president, saying, Mr. President, Your Excellency, we require a bridge here, we require something about our school here, we require this here, we require a dispensary here, and the president, we require a market here, and the president is regarding everything, will come and say, okay, I will grant so much for this, I'll grant so much for that. The PS, make sure we get this kind of money. And the same MPs are doing that, yet the constitution requires that development should not be driven by proximity to the president, but should be driven by the budget made in parliament and signed into law by the president. And they have that budget which they have done, but because they don't control the money, the budget is just a formalistic tool. It's just ticking the boxes. The real budget that works is the budget that is in the head of the president. And if you want to see that in practice, there's a document that the Treasury publishes every end month, 21 days after every end of month. It is called the Statement of Actual Revenue and Net Exchequer Issues. It's available on the website, and they keep on publishing it every month. When you take that document in one hand, and you take the budget that the parliament has passed in the other hand, and you look at it, then you realize the scam that we are dealing with. The budget that parliament passes is just a formality. The real budget is what the president, what is in the head of the president and the head of the guys in the treasury. That's where you'll find the domestic borrowing running to trillions of shillings. Parliament has never approved anything like that. You will find variations. They use the same document to steal. Like if you look at the current budget, the last budget of 2024, 2025, if you look at the allocation for consolidated fund services, for salaries, for allowances and miscellaneous, for people like judges, the president, the commissioners, independent office holders, and all those kind of people, the budget was 4.2 billion for the year. The revised budget was 4.2 billion, which when you divide by 12 translates to about 301 million. When you look at the payment of those salaries from July, that 1st July 2024 to that 1st December 2024, religiously, they paid the 301 million per month. But come January, the same account, 4.2 billion, the same vote, was used to withdraw 19.6 billion over and above the 301 million. You find that 19 is stolen in one batch in January 5 with no explanation. In February, they go and only pay the 301 million, meaning the bump is not as a result of anything having changed within within the salaries, allowances, and miscellaneous for this category. These people pay who get their salaries directly from the consolidated fund. It means somebody has just stolen the 19.6 billion. And here we are today, struggling with the kids going to get capitation. You are told the doctors are going on strike, that are looking for some 4 billion shillings in their CBA. The lecturers, they're looking for about 7 billion. That's about 11 billion shillings. But you have got some do no gooders who have just walked away with 19.6 billion shillings from the consolidated fund. And simply because the consolidated fund is controlled by the president, because the minister for finance is appointed and serves the president, the PS of finance is appointed and serves at the pleasure of the president. So the president is the treasurer. So they can just go and pick 19.6 billion shillings in one vote, and it disappears, and nobody can answer. I went and raised a question in the Senate. I have not received an answer on the same. So you find that because of the treasury being under the control of the president, you not only create an emperor, but you also lose control of how that money is managed. So we need as a people to go back and make sure that we take the treasury away from the presidency and restore it and set it up under national treasurer. And that national treasurer will be somebody who has got security of tenure, somebody who is recruited through a competitive process. But security of tenure means he cannot be fired on the whims of the president, just like you saw the Federal Reserve when President Trump tried to fire somebody from the National Reserve. He was told there, you cannot go. Those people have got security of tenure. We need a similar mechanism so that the national treasurer and these people can have security of tenure. Then the money is given to them, but it is only used as the way Parliament has approved it in the budget and with the oversight of the control of budget. If we do that, we take the imperial power away from the president. The president has to wait for money to be appropriated by Parliament. Parliament regains its power of the past, and the budget becomes the tool through which development is accessed. You don't have to go to State House to look for development. You elect a competent MP to sit in Parliament and detail your case. So the representatives of the people regain the power, and using the budget, which is proposed by the executive, which they then approve, they can now go and using that budget, engage in development, ensure that there's equitable sharing of resources, and then they give the budget back to the president and say, now go ahead and implement, and they wait to oversight. And we get rid of things like CDF. CDF was an attempt to say, okay, now that you have taken the money, let us just have some small pittance that we can hold on to. Whether it is used well or not is another question. But to me, ideally, CDF was an attempt to claw back the power of the past, but doing that through the wrong way. So let us just get the treasury away stop it from being a ministry of the national government. Then even the county governments will not have to wait for the president to give them money. The county governments will get the money on the 15th day of every month, as is written in the Public Finance Management Act. And then they will also not have problems of dealing with their issues. And the treasury will serve the 48 governments equitably and equally almost. So we need to do all these things. Is there? It has given us a blueprint of how to run this country. It has given us a manual, but we have disobeyed that manual and we find ourselves in this condition. So we hope that the courts will be able to help us move on. And as I hand back the mic, I want to mention one thing. Those who are old enough to remember how markets behaved in this country, around the budget time, you could see people hoarding merchandise. Petrol stations would say they don't have fuel, the shops would say they don't have goods. They were waiting for the budget to be read so that they could come back the next day with the new prices, depending on what the budget what has been proposed. Basically, what used to happen is that final bill was never debated and passed by Parliament in the way other bills were done. It took effect the day the minister read it. So I went to court in 2018, and before Justice Finance, the finance bill must be processed like any other bill, must be debated, and people must understand what is being proposed, what kind of amendments are being proposed to be made to the tax laws, so that then it can do that. And the court agreed with me. It quashed an act of parliament that was allowed the finance bill to be automatically law, and it resulted in Article Section 39, Clause A of the Public Finance Management Act being enacted to say that the finance bill must be presented in Parliament by a certain date and must go through the rigors of being debated. And from that kind of development, you see what was achieved now. When the Gen Z got in 2024 and they rejected the finance bill, they said, no, these taxes are bad. But because of the litigation I did and the fact that now we are able to debate this thing, that has brought down that. And it's not that because of me, it's been done. And so our salvation lies in the Constitution. That's the manual that we have for running this country. Those who say the Constitution is too expensive should realize how expensive it is to have the kind of disorder we have today, where critical aspects of the Constitution are being disregarded. And so, when we prosecute this case that we are prosecuting in the High Court, we are really seeking for the court's declaration that this Constitution says this, and the executive and parliament and anybody else has no option but to do what the Constitution states. And so, with those remarks, I hand back the mic. I hope my time has been worth it and I've made some sense. Thank you very much.